Chapter 391. Half of the Eastern Emperor Bel Yili was puzzled as to why a human ninth-tier evolved being and a ninth-tier dark race member were fighting in this desolate place. Were they vying for something? He activated the Heavenly Spirit Eye to investigate, and his face lit up with excitement. Yili had seen the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bel. No wonder two such high-level powerhouses were present here. It was because of this. The old man and the thunder creature were locked in a difficult battle. It was like a fierce battle of tigers on the mountain. Yili decided to watch the tigers fight. More than 10 minutes passed, and the old man was clearly at a disadvantage. The thunder creature sneered, "Human powerhouse, I advise you to escape quickly. You're no match for me." The old man stared at the thunder creature, but didn't say a word. "Since you don't want to escape, then you can only die." As soon as he finished speaking, the thunder monster held two hammers and hammered the drum, and a terrifying bolt of lightning struck over. The old man widened his eyes, feeling somewhat powerless to defend against this blow. "I'm done." At this critical moment, a slightly slim figure appeared in front of the old man. The young man blocked the attack for the old man, who was surprised to find himself still alive. Then, he quickly examined the youth's appearance and was even more shocked. The youth was incredibly young and could withstand the ninth-tier dark race member's attack. The thunder monster didn't expect a young man to appear. He looked at the young man in front of him. The thunder creature hadn't finished speaking when Yili interrupted him. "You two are fighting here over the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bel, right?" Yili said slowly. "That's right. Are you here to claim this half of the Bel?" The thunder creature stared at Yili. Yili nodded. "Yes, I've been searching for this half of the Bel for a long time." With those words, the thunder creature's expression turned cold. "Then let's see if you have the strength for it." As the words fell, a thunderous attack shot towards Yili. Yili retrieved the dragon-slaying blade from the system space, and a cold radiance suddenly emerged.
Swish!
Yili swung the blade, and the attack was terrifying. After the cold light and the thunder were offset, Yili jumped up, raised the dragon-slaying blade high, and slowly said to the thunder monster, "Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique." The dragon-slaying blade fell heavily, and an unparalleled demon phantom rushed towards the thunder creature. The thunder creature was horrified by such an attack. Without imagining further, he quickly fled the scene, reaching the fastest speed ever recorded. The old man was stunned by the young man's strength. Yili landed on the ground and prepared to take the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bel. "Thank you for saving my life, my friend," the old man said with folded hands. Yili turned to the side and replied, "No problem. I just wanted to get the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bel." The old man was startled, as he had the same thought. It really was the Eastern Emperor Bel. He quickly walked up to Yili and asked, "Friend, 1 a.m. the head of the Shao family in Sky Blue Base City. May first ask who you are?" "My name is Yili." Yili stopped and said to the old man. The old man knew that there was no way he could defeat the young man in front of him, especially with the blade that Yili had just used. He remembered that when the blade appeared in Yili's hand, there was a blood dragon with 5 claws coiled around it, and it emitted a terrifying and chilling radiance. Could it be? The old man suddenly thought of an incredible possibility, that Yili's blade was the dragon-slaying blade. Chapter 392. Returning to Sky Blue Base City, the old man was shocked but was certain that the blade in Yili's hand was the dragon-slaying blade. He didn't dare to ask and feared that it might displease Yili. After all, he had seen Yili's strength quite clearly just now. "Friend, if you're going to Sky Blue Base City, you can visit the Shao family. I still have some weight in Sky Blue Base City," the old man said to Yili. Yili thought that the old man was likely from one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Base City. The Goof family was the strongest among the top 8 families, and the old man, as a 9th-tier evolved being, would naturally be associated with one of the top 3 families. "Friend, I'll be leaving then." The old man was somewhat unwilling, but he had no choice. If he were to fight Yili for the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bel, he would undoubtedly die. All Such a remarkable figure has appeared near Sky Blue Bay City. The old man sighed and left. Yili gazed at the other half of the Eastern Emperor bell not far away and walked over to pick it up. Ding! Detected the other half of the Eastern Emperor bell. Would you like to synthesize it? Synthesize. Eastern Emperor bell synthesis initiated. 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Eastern Emperor bell synthesis completed. Yili now possessed 3 divine weapons and was ready for the Eastern Emperor bell's trial to be triggered. With the Eastern Emperor bell in hand, it was time to head to Sky Blue Bay City. Upon arriving in Sky Blue Bay City, Yili planned to visit the Xia family. Outside the Xia family, Yili noticed that the guards and disciples seemed worried. Sensing trouble, he quickly approached. As soon as the gatekeepers saw Yili, they appeared on the verge of tears. Mr. Yili, you've finally returned. Sniff, the Xiao family has gone too far. They've seriously injured our family head. And none of the doctors in Sky Blue Bay City dared to treat him. The Xiao family? Yili squinted his eyes. If he recalled correctly, the old man on the mountain had mentioned that he was the head of the Xiao family. Without further ado, Yili walked into the Xia family. At this moment, Xia Shi and Xia Chun were feeling down outside. Xia Shi had just raised her head and saw Yili approaching. Senior, you've returned? Xia's eyes expression was a mix of joy and sorrow as she looked at Yili with complex emotions. Take me to see Xia Hong. Senior, my father. Yili waved his hand and said, I already know. Xia Shi didn't say much and led Yili to Xia Hong's room. Once in the room, the Xia family's elders saw Yili's arrival and quickly greeted him as Mr. Yili. Xia Hong was currently unconscious, his face turning blue. His injuries looked extremely severe. Yili raised his palm, and a golden aura flowed into Xia Hong's body. A few seconds later, Xia Hong opened his eyes, and his complexion returned to normal. Xia Shi, Xia Chun, and the elders of the Xia family were all shocked. They didn't expect Yili to have such a divine technique. Am I okay? Xia Hong was somewhat bewildered and couldn't figure out what had happened. Dad, Senior saved you, Xia Chun said. Xia Hong quickly leaped out of bed and looked at Yili. Mr. Yili, you've returned. Yili nodded. Now, tell me why the Xiao family did this. Everyone from the Xia family became indignant at Yili's words. Xia Hong then explained everything that had happened. After Yi Li had injured the Gu family's members the last time, the Gu family had a good relationship with the top 3 families in the city, including the Xiao family. So, the Xiao family had come to seek revenge on behalf of the Gu family. Chapter 393. Tell me where the Xiao family is. Yili thought that Xia Hong was injured because of him. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be Yili. Mr. Yili, if it weren't for you, I might have died, Xia Hong said. Looking at Yili, the people from the Xia family also sighed in relief. It was fortunate that Yili had arrived. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Yili gave a faint smile. It's all right. I need to leave for a while. Do you want to know where Mr. Yili is heading? Xia Hong asked Yili, but as soon as the words left his mouth, he regretted it. He realized that Yili was no ordinary person and didn't need to report to him about his whereabouts. Xiao family, Yili replied nonchalantly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili slowly walked out of the room. Only then did the people of the Xia family come back to their senses. They looked at Yili's back in shock, but they didn't dare to stop him. The Xiao family was one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City, and they were a powerful force. Once outside the Xia family, Yili realized that he didn't know where the Xiao family was located. However, as one of the top 3 families, everyone in Sky Blue Bay City should know their whereabouts. He was about to randomly approach someone to ask about the Xiao family's location, when he suddenly felt a force collide with him. Ouch! A pained cry rang out. Yili looked calmly and found a young woman in her 20s who had fallen to the ground and was clutching her forehead. The woman was very pretty and was glaring at Yili with intense anger. How dare you bump into me? The girl got up from the ground and looked at Yili angrily. Yili's face remained unchanged. The woman was a genetic warrior, a 3rd-tier evolved being. How dare you bump into me? It'll teach you a lesson. Xiao Yuzhu said fiercely to Yi Li. Can't you see I don't want to talk to you? Yi Li said indifferently. What did you say? Xiao Yuzhu was stunned. No one had ever dared to speak to her like this. Whether in China or here, there was no shortage of spectators who were willing to watch a commotion for money, and many people were quick to gather and watch the show. By the way, do you know where the Xiao family is? Yi Li decided to ask this young woman. The Xiao family? Xiao Yuzhu was taken aback, clearly not expecting Yi Li to ask about this. The onlookers were also surprised. The Xiao family was one of the top 3 families in the Sky Blue Bay City. Could this person be a genetic warrior? The Sky Blue Bay City had a large population, but less than 1% of them were genetic warriors. As long as one could become a genetic warrior, his status would rise to a higher level. Xiao Yuzhu looked down on Yi Li. You want to join the Xiao family's camp? Yi Li shook his head.
No.
Then why do you want to know about the Xiao families? You only need to tell me where the Xiao family is located. Don't ask any more questions. Xiao Yuzhu couldn't help but frown at Yi Li's tone, finding him insufferable. What do you think the Xiao family is? Do you think you can go there as you please? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Xiao Yuzhu's tone was dripping with disdain. Hey, isn't this Yuzhu? What are you doing here? A magnetic voice reached Yi Li's ears. A man of roughly the same age as Xiao Yuzhu walked over. He was exceptionally handsome and could be considered a handsome man. Of course, it depended on who he was compared to. Compared to Yi Li, he fell far short in terms of attractiveness. Lin Chun, it's you? Xiao Yuzhu smiled. The onlookers saw Lin Chun and had an instinctual feeling that he was a rich young man. His aura wasn't something that ordinary families could cultivate. Chapter 394. Such an arrogant person, Lin Chun. Since you're here, help me teach this person a lesson. Xiao Yuzhu looked disdainfully at Yi Li. Lin Chun smiled. If Yuzhu says so, of course I can. Then, Lin Chun looked at Yi Li. Brother, Yuzhu asked me to teach you a lesson. Are you willing? The crowd was stunned. This person was too arrogant. He even asked the other party if they wanted to be taught a lesson. In fact, it doesn't matter if you don't want to because you've offended the wrong people. Yuzhu is from the Xiao family, and I'm from the Lin family. Lin Chun looked at Yi Li proudly. In his opinion, Yi Li would be scared to death after knowing his and Xiao Yuzhu's identities. They're actually from the Xiao and Lin families. No wonder they're so arrogant. I'm afraid this person is in trouble. Since he has offended the people of the top 3 families, he will definitely end up in a miserable state. So, we have to be smart. It won't be good if we piss off someone we shouldn't. The onlookers all looked at Yi Li pitifully. They could imagine what would happen to Yi Li. Lin Chun smiled with a sense of triumph, listening to the crowd's discussions. He believed that Yi Li must be scared by now. He looked into Yi Li's face.
What?
Lin Chun was frustrated. He stared at Yi Li. Yi Li's face remained unchanged. It was as if he hadn't heard anything. Why aren't you scared? Lin Chun couldn't understand it. He believed that anyone who heard about his and Xiao Yuzhu's identities should be terrified. Xiao Yuzhu was also puzzled. Yi Li was astonishingly calm, to the point of being unbelievable. She gazed into his eyes and saw that Yi Li's eyes were sharp. Why should I be afraid? Yi Li replied nonchalantly. He couldn't comprehend why he should be scared. Just because they were from the top 3 families? He found it laughable. Do you not know how powerful the top 3 families are? Lin Chun stared at Yi Li. As a member of the top 3 families, no one of his age dared to talk to him like this. Yi Li shook his head. I don't know. The crowd was flabbergasted. How could someone not know the terror of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City? They suspected that Yi Li was pretending not to know. They were more inclined to believe the latter. They believed that Yi Li was now feigning composure, but in his heart, he was actually terrified. All right. Since you don't know the might of the top 3 families, I'll show you today. Lin Chun looked at Yi Li with a menacing look. Xiao Yuzhu looked at Yi Li mockingly. Lin Chun and she were both 3rd-tier evolved beings. As long as Lin Chun took action, This person would probably have to lie in bed for months. I advise you not to take action. You're too weak, Yili said calmly. The moment this remark was made, everyone was shocked. They couldn't believe that Yili would say something like that. Lin Chen was furious. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yili. You're courting death. Yili smiled. Ants are ants. How about this? I'll only use one finger. If you can beat me, you can do whatever you want to me. Silence, a deathly silence. Everyone stared at Yili in shock. This was way too arrogant. Lin Chen was from the top 3 families, but he claimed that he could defeat him only with one finger? Xiao Yuzhu was also furious. She had never seen such an arrogant person. Chapter 395. Heading to the Xiao family, Lin Chen stood motionless, as if frozen in place. He had expected Yi Li to be terrified upon learning his identity, but he didn't anticipate Yi Li's response. What did you say? Lin Chen clenched his teeth and his eyes burned with anger. Don't hesitate anymore. Let me defeat you with one finger, Yi Li said calmly. You're seeking death. Lin Chen couldn't suppress his anger any longer. He clenched his fist and threw a powerful punch toward Yi Li, like a fierce tiger descending a mountain. Yi Li remained still as a statue, with a calm expression on his face. The onlookers shook their heads, fully anticipating Yi Li's fate. A horrifying scene was about to unfold. As Lin Chen's fist was just inches away from Yi Li suddenly disappeared, moving to Lin Chen's back. The entire process happened so quickly that the bystanders couldn't follow, and they saw Yi Li raise a single finger. I have one finger that can destroy the world. When Lin Chen turned back, he realized that Yi Li's finger was already descending toward his head. Yi Li didn't use the one yang finger this time, nor did it contain any spiritual energy. It was just a simple finger. Lin Chen was shocked. He couldn't dodge it. With the finger just an inch away from Lin Chen's head, Yi Li stopped. He had no intention of killing Lin Chen, only teaching him a lesson. Lin Chen was drenched in cold sweat, and warm liquid even trickled from his lower body. It was clear that Lin Chen was scared out of his wits. The bystanders were astonished as well. They never expected this turn of events. Xiao Yuzhu was terrified. She never thought Yi Li would be this powerful. I told you that you were too weak. I can defeat you with just one finger. Why don't you believe it? Yi Li said calmly. After saying this, Yi Li didn't pay any further attention to Lin Chen. He looked at Xiao Yuzhu and said, Let's go.
Take me to the Xiao family.
Xiao Yuzhu snapped out of her daze, her face showing a mix of emotions. Yi Li's strength, which he had just demonstrated, was terrifying. She had always thought Yi Li was just a weak genetic warrior. But she had been mistaken. All right, okay, Xiao Yuzhu reluctantly nodded. They continued in silence. As she got closer and closer to the Xiao family, Xiao Yuzhu finally couldn't help but speak. She was too curious. What realm are you actually in, she asked. She didn't understand why Yi Li, who looked at most 1 or 2 years older than her, was so terrifying. Yi Li halted and looked at Xiao Yuzhu calmly. If I told you I'm a 9-tier evolved being, would you believe me? Xiao Yuzhu was stunned. She certainly wouldn't believe it. If he had become a level 9 evolved being at such a young age, it would be too unbelievable. Since you don't believe it, there's no need to ask further, Yi Li continued. Although Xiao Yuzhu didn't say anything, her expression said everything. Before long, Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu arrived outside the Xiao family's estate. The Xiao family was one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City. These families controlled the economy, the military, and almost everything else of the Bay City. This is the Xiao family, Xiao Yuzhu told Yi Li. Yi Li inspected the Xiao family's grand buildings and couldn't help but be impressed. As one of the top 3 families, their estate was truly magnificent, unlike anything he had ever seen before. Then, Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu entered the Xiao family's premises. The Xiao family was massive, consisting of both the main lineage and various branch families, totaling over 1,000 members. Xiao Yuzhu, being the granddaughter of the Xiao family's head, held a high position in the family. As soon as they entered the Xiao family, several people respectfully called out, "Third Mississippi." Chapter 396I. AM, a ninth-tier evolved being, Yili. What do you want from the Xiao family? Xiao Yuzhu found Yili exceedingly mysterious, and she had never encountered anyone like him before. It's just a small matter. Go and inform your family's head that one, Yili, have arrived, Yili said calmly. Xiao Yuzhu was surprised, wondering, is he here to see my grandpas? Could it be? Suddenly, Xiao Yuzhu thought of an astonishing possibility, that Yili might be friends with her grandfather. But she dismissed this possibility because of Yili's age. How could he be friends with her grandfather? Yili, why do you want to see my grandpas? Xiao Yuzhu probed. She believed that if it wasn't something important, she would give him a good scolding. Yuzhu, you're back. A young man, around the same age as Xiao Yuzhu, approached. He was as handsome as Lin Chen. Before Xiao Yuzhu could respond, the young man continued, Yuzhu, is this your boyfriend? A playful expression appeared on the young man's face. His name was Xiao Yun, the grandson of the Xiao family's chief, and also a third-tier evolved being. Xiao Yun, what are you saying? Xiao Yuzhu frowned, looking angrily at Xiao Yun. The Xiao family was divided into two factions, with one led by the family head and the other by the grand elder. Yuzhu, I was just making a joke. No need to get so upset, Xiao Yun shrugged. Then, Xiao Yun looked at Yili and asked, Brother, my name is Xiao Yun. I'm the grandson of the grand elder. And you are? Xiao Yun had a mocking expression on his face. Yili said calmly. Obviously, this was the first time Xiao Yun had heard of the name Yili. He looked at Yili with a calm expression, which somewhat displeased Xiao Yun. Do you know what level you are at? Xiao Yun fixed his gaze on Yili. I'm a ninth-tier evolved being, Yili slowly replied. What? Xiao Yun felt like he had been struck by lightning, and he stared at Yili in shock. Several seconds later, Xiao Yun snapped back to reality.
Ha ha ha.
Xiao Yun burst into laughter, as if he had heard something incredibly funny. Xiao family members and other onlookers joined in, sensing that there was some entertainment to be had. Why are you laughing? Yili's face remained as calm as ever, and he looked at Xiao Yun with indifference. He said he's a ninth-tier evolved being. Do you find that funny? Xiao Yun couldn't help but laugh to the point of tears. Xiao family members also couldn't contain their laughter. If bragging was a crime, this man would have been sentenced to death 10 times over. Xiao Yuzhu couldn't understand why Yili insisted on claiming to be a ninth-tier evolved being. Even though she had witnessed his terrifying abilities, saying he was a ninth-tier evolved being seemed far-fetched. Brother, this is the Xiao family. Both the family head and my grandfather are ninth-tier evolved beings. Do you think we'd believe that you're a ninth-tier evolved being just because you say so? Xiao Yun looked at Yili with disdain. Why wouldn't you believe me? Yili smiled calmly. Xiao Yun didn't understand why Yili was still able to smile when his lie had already been exposed. All right, you claim to be a ninth-tier evolved being, so how are you going to prove it? Xiao Yun stared intently at Yili. Do you want me to prove it? Of course. Xiao Yun wanted to see how Yili could prove it. All right, do you believe that I can make you lie on the ground in 1 second and then make you stand up again in another second? Yili said calmly. Chapter 397. Does anyone still doubt what I say? The Xiao family members were completely stunned, thinking they had heard it wrong. Xiao Yun stared at Yili in disbelief and asked, Yili, what did you just say? Never in his life had he felt this furious. As the grandson of the Xiao family's grand elder, he had always held a high position. Don't you believe me? Yili calmly looked at Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun was taken aback. He didn't believe it? Yili claimed that he could make Xiao Yun lie down in 1 second and then make him stand up in another second. This was something that no one would believe. Haha, who do you think you are to talk to me like this? Xiao Yun sneered. The surrounding Xiao family members also found Yili too arrogant. How could he dare to act recklessly in the Xiao family? Didn't he know how powerful the Xiao family was? Since you don't believe me, I'll have to make you believe, Yili said calmly. All right, I'll see how you make me. Xiaoyun didn't finish his sentence before he let out a scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Ollie. Xiaoyun was now lying on the ground, clutching his right leg and wailing in agony. He had a ghastly blood hole on his right leg, which had appeared at some point. The Xiao family members were in shock. They didn't even have time to process what had happened. Xiao Yuzhu was also shocked. She knew that Yili was formidable, but she had never expected him to be this powerful. Anyone else wants to try? Yili looked at the surrounding Xiao family members and spoke casually. No one in the Xiao family dared to speak. They stared at Yili in horror, and Xiaoyun continued to scream in pain. Yili smiled and raised his hand. A gentle golden aura flowed towards the bloody hole on Xiaoyun's right leg. The Xiao family members watched with wide eyes as the wound on Xiaoyun's leg visibly healed within moments. Xiaoyun was dumbfounded. He had never been this shocked in his life. Do you believe me now? Yili looked at Xiaoyun calmly. At this moment, Xiaoyun couldn't even utter a complete sentence. He stared at Yi Li in astonishment. He clearly remembered the excruciating pain he had felt just a moment ago, but now, he felt no pain at all. Everything was healed, and it was all thanks to Yi Li thinking about it. Xiaoyun was even more shocked. How did you do that? Was it an illusion? No, it wasn't an illusion. It's real. The Xiao family members exchanged bewildered looks, unable to fathom how Yili had performed such an incredible feat. Does anyone still not believe what I said? Yili glanced at the people of the Xiao family and slowly said, Xiao Yuzhu had never seen such a divine technique before. She was so shocked that she couldn't even speak. What's going on? A deep voice echoed in their ears. It's the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder is here. The Xiao family members were filled with fear. The Grand Elder of the Xiao family was an authoritative figure with absolute power in the family. An elderly man in a tang suit strode over with great dignity. Despite his age, he exuded an imposing aura, and his eagle-like eyes were as sharp as daggers. Seeing that her grandfather had come, Xiaoyun hurriedly told the old man everything. The old man's name was Xiao Kun, the Grand Elder of the Xiao family, a 9th-tier evolved being. Since Yili reached the 4th level of the ancient Devil Tome, no one could see through his realm, be it those whose realm was higher than his or those whose realm was lower than his. Upon hearing Xiaoyun's account, Grand Elder Xiao Kun was taken aback and his eyes widened. Chapter 398. Provoking the wrath. Xiao Kun observed Yili from head to toe, and typically, he would look down upon someone of Yili's age. However, Xiaoyun's description of Yili's terrifying power made him reconsider. You're not from the Sky Blue Bay City, are you? Xiao Kun naturally knew that there was no genius like Yili in any of the martial families in the Sky Blue Bay City. No. I'm from the Wilderness Zone, Yili nodded. Xiao Kun didn't have much knowledge about the Wilderness Zone, but he continued, Why do you come to the Xiao families? The people from the Xiao family all looked at Yili, wondering how he would respond. You know the Xia family, right? Yili said lightly. The people of the Xiao family were puzzled. They knew about the Xia family, one of the top 8 families in the Sky Blue Bay City. Did Yili come here because of the Xia family? Xiao Kun remained silent, knowing that Yili had more to say. The Xia family's head, Xia Hong, was injured by the Xiao family, and I've come here for justice, Yili continued slowly. When Yili said this, the members of the Xiao family were all astonished. To come to the Xiao family for justice? Yili, it's only our Xiao family who dares to mess with others. No one has ever dared to mess with our Xiao family. I think you're really tired of living. Xiaoyun glared at Yili. Although he was amazed by Yili's unparalleled skills earlier, now that his grandfather was here, he had nothing to fear. I see you've come to seek revenge for Xia Hong, he, Xiao Kun said with a cold smile. Xia Hong was injured by me, and since you've come for revenge, let's get started, Xiao Kun said. Yili looked at Xiao Kun with a faint smile. If one cripple one of your hands, Will you accept it? Silence. A prolonged silence. The members of the Xiao family were all dumbfounded. It was one thing for Yi Li to be arrogant with Xiao Yun, but none of them could have anticipated that Yi Li would dare to say such a thing to the Grand Elder. After all, the Grand Elder was a 9th-tier evolved being. Xiao Kun hadn't been angry in at least 10 years, but he was now feeling a bit irritated. You're an arrogant young man. Don't you understand the difference in our status? Xiao Kun stared at Yi Li and spoke coldly. Yi Li just smiled. I don't think I need to understand it. At this moment, more members of the Xiao family arrived, both from the middle-aged generation and the older generation. They were furious to hear Yi Li's arrogant words. The Xiao family, one of the 3 major families in the Sky Blue Bay City, was being provoked by a young man. Father, let me teach this guy a lesson. An angry voice rang out, and a middle-aged man quickly approached. The man was Xiao Zhen, Xiao Yun's father and Xiao Kun's son. Xiao Yuzhu was completely at a loss now. She never expected that Yi Li's visit to the Xiao family was related to such a matter. The situation was becoming uncontrollable. Xiao Zhen glared at Yi Li. Brat, how dare you say such things to my father? I will make you regret it. Yi Li smiled. Yi Li, have no reason to regret, because I will never regret. Xiao Zhen couldn't contain his anger any longer. Diamond palm. Xiao Zhen unleashed a palm strike toward Yi Li. The palm wind was like lightning, and it carried a red spiritual aura as it flew towards Yi Li. Yi Li shook his head inwardly. Xiao Zhen was only a 7th-tier evolved being, yet he dared to attack Yi Li. He clearly had no idea of the difference in their strengths. Chapter 399. All of you are just dust. Xiao Zhen unleashed his diamond palm, attacking Yi Li fiercely. Yi Li remained motionless in place, looking as calm as if he were a mountain. In his eyes, Xiao Zhen's attack seemed pathetically weak. Xiao Yuzhu and the members of the Xiao family were left bewildered. They couldn't understand why Yi Li wasn't trying to evade the attack. Was it because he didn't need to, or was it because he thought he couldn't evade it? They were more inclined to believe the latter. Just when the diamond palm was a hair's breadth away from Yi Li, he finally began to move. He raised one finger, then lightly touched the diamond palm, causing it to vanish instantly. How was that possible? The members of the Xiao family were all taken aback and looked at Yi Li in shock. The diamond palm had disappeared with a light touch? Typically, it was capable of splitting a 1,000-pound boulder. Xiao Zhen, the one who had unleashed the diamond palm, was shocked to a level he had never experienced before. He couldn't have imagined this outcome even in his wildest dreams. You are too weak. In my eyes, you are nothing but ants. No, Yi Li said, stopping for a moment, and then continuing, you should be about the same as dust. As soon as he said this, the members of the Xiao family were filled with anger. Xiao Zhen was already a 7th-tier evolved being, and in Yi Li's eyes, he was no more than dust. Then what did that make them? Were they even lower than dust? As long as one was a genetic warrior in the Sky Blue Bay City, who didn't want to be born into the Xiao family. As long as their genetic talent wasn't too poor, they could obtain many resources. But in the eyes of this young man, they were even weaker than ants. Yi Li chuckled to himself, knowing exactly what the members of the Xiao family were thinking. You're right. I'm not just referring to him. In my eyes, all of you are just dust, Yi Li continued. The members of the Xiao family were furious when they heard this statement. They had never been this angry in their entire lives. Since you say that Xiao Zhen is dust, then what about me? A cold voice rang out, and a middle-aged man quickly approached. It's the 2nd elder son. The middle-aged man's name was Xiao Cheng, and he was also a 7th-tier evolved being. Xiao Cheng arrived at Xiao Zhen's side, ready to team up against Yi Li. Just 2 specks of dust, Yi Li said indifferently. What did you say? Xiao Cheng glared at Yi Li. Yi Li paid no attention to Xiao Cheng and looked at Xiao Kun. I've said it. 111 only break one of your arms, so why are you so unwilling? Yi Li asked. Xiao Kun was astonished by Yi Li's previous display of power, and now when he heard Yi Li's words, his face turned red with anger. Father, there's no need to get angry. Let Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing teach him a lesson. Xiao Zhen said coldly. As I said, you are nothing but dust in my eyes. Why don't you believe me? Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing couldn't accept these words. They were flying towards Yi Li with the intention of beating him up. You are seeking death. Looking at Xiao Zhen and the members of the Xiao family charging at him, Yi Li shook his head inwardly. Then he raised a finger, allowing golden spiritual energy to envelop it. Swoosh, swoosh. Two piercing sounds were heard, and terrifying golden spiritual energy attacked Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing were shocked. They didn't expect Yi Li to launch such an attack. They hurriedly dodged and narrowly evaded the attack of the golden spiritual energy. Chapter 400. Testing the power of the Eastern Emperor Bel. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing, after evading the golden spiritual energy attacks, looked at Yi Li in shock and horror. They had barely managed to regain their composure when Yi Li suddenly disappeared from his original spot. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing were startled to the core when they saw this. Their pupils constricted rapidly. By the time Yi Li reappeared, he was already in front of Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing. They were caught off guard and were sent flying backward. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing crashed heavily into the ground, and the Xiao family members were in an uproar. Uncle Xiao Zhen and Uncle Xiao Qing were defeated. The Xiao family members, although they knew Yi Li was formidable, had never imagined that he would be this strong. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing, despite the hard fall, managed to get back up. They stared intently at Yi Li. I told you, you are just dust in my eyes. Why don't you believe that? Yi Li's face bore a playful expression. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing gritted their teeth and clenched their fists harder than they ever had before. Their nails dug into their flesh, but they didn't feel any pain. Yi Li, don't be too arrogant. This is the Xiao family, a middle-aged man said as he walked over. This middle-aged man was also a seventh-tier evolved being, with a robust physique and a fierce expression. His name was Xiao Hu, the son of one of the Xiao family's elders. Xiao Hu walked to Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing, stared at Yi Li and said coldly, "What if I join in?" Yi Li shook his head. Not enough. Xiao Hu, upon hearing this, was burning with anger. He had never imagined that one person could be so arrogant. And me. Another seventh-tier evolved being stepped forward. The younger generation of the Xiao family exchanged bewildered glances. There were now 4 seventh-tier evolved beings present. Xiao Yuzhu, on the other hand, was secretly scared. Thinking that she had just bumped into such a monster, she said many disrespectful words to him in disdain. Yi Li shook his head. Still not enough. The grand elder of the Xiao family, Xiao Kun, looked extremely cold. He had thought that at Yi Li's age, he wouldn't be a high-leveled evolved being. But now he realized that he was not only wrong but completely wrong. What if? Him included? Xiao Kun walked out. Everyone from the Xiao family was stunned. Including Grand Elder Xiao Kun, there were 4 seventh-tier evolved beings and 1 ninth-tier evolved being. The 4 seventh-tier evolved beings were all on the Grand Elder's side. But what made the Xiao family people unable to believe their ears was Yi Li's answer. Yi Li shook his head. Still not enough. Yi Li, I want your life. Grand Elder Xiao Kun roared and then rushed towards Yi Li at the speed of the wind. After Xiao Kun flew over, the 4 seventh-tier evolved beings followed closely behind. Yi Li smiled. Even if it didn't rain, would there still be dog, Pimos? It was fine. He could just take this chance to test the power of the Eastern Emperor Bel. He retrieved the Eastern Emperor Bel from his system space. A crimson clock appeared in front of him, and Yi Li gently tapped it with his palm. Clang! Instantly, it felt like the earth was quaking. The Xiao family members covered their ears. At this moment, they wished they were dead. The feeling was 100 times more painful than having 1,000 ants biting their hearts. Xiao Kun and the 4 7th-tier evolved beings quickly retreated, looking at the crimson clock in front of Yi Li in fear. Titus, Xiao Kun's eyes widened as he suddenly remembered something. Chapter 401. Severing one of Xiao Kun's arms. Xiao Kun had once read an illustrated book. The red bell in front of Yi Li was exactly the same as the one in the illustrated book. He pondered for a moment, finally recalling the name. One of the 10 great divine weapons, Eastern Emperor Bell. Yi Li, is the clock in front of you the Eastern Emperor Bell? Xiao Kun hastily asked. Upon hearing this, all the Xiao family members were taken aback. The Eastern Emperor Bell? This was one of the 10 great divine weapons. Such divine artifacts were incredibly distant from their reach, and they hadn't even considered the possibility. Xiao Zhen and Xiao Qing hadn't thought of it either. They stared wide-eyed at the red bell in front of Yi Li. Yes, this is indeed the Eastern Emperor Bell, Yi Li calmly confirmed. He thought that the power of the Eastern Emperor Bell was not bad. With just a gentle slap of it, it could cause the earth to shake. Seeing Yi Li's affirmation, Xiao Kun's eyes gleamed with greed. Yi Li, of course, noticed the greedy expression on Xiao Kun's face. He wasn't surprised. Anyone who saw his divine artifact would react this way. Yi Li, originally, I wanted to kill you, but now I've changed my mind. If you hand over the Eastern Emperor Bell, 111 spare your life. How about that? Xiao Kun said with a sinister smile. To him, this was a good deal. While the 10 great divine weapons were tempting, one's life was naturally more valuable. Yi Li smiled lightly. He couldn't fathom why Xiao Kun would dare to make such a proposal. It seemed like Xiao Kun didn't know his place. How can an ant like you change at all? You can only be changed if I sever one of your arms, Yi Li said. Yi Li always kept his word. If he said he would sever Xiao Kun's arm, he would. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Li activated swift steps, leaving only an afterimage behind. When he appeared again, he was already above Xiao Kun, and he had the dragon-slaying blade in hand. In an instant, a soul-stirring dragon roar sounded. A phantom of a 5-clawed blood dragon appeared and circled in the sky, leaving people in awe. Teach this. Xiao Kun was stunned. Could it be that this was the dragon-slaying blade? Before Xiao Kun and the Xiao family members could react, Yi Li had already shot out like lightning. By the time Xiao Kun regained his senses, it was too late.
Swish!
A horrifying burst of cold radiance appeared, followed by an earth-shattering scream. All! The dreadful scream came from the Grand Elder, Xiao Kun. Xiao Kun's left hand had been severed. Blood flowed incessantly, and the sight was terrifying. Is it enough for you to be convinced after I've severed one of your arms? Yi Li calmly looked at Xiao Kun. At this moment, the Xiao family members were utterly terrified. They even felt their souls trembling. Senior Elder Xiao Kun was still screaming in agony. He couldn't even utter a word. It hurts so much. Yi Li's face bore a hint of boredom. He spoke calmly. Answer me, or you will die very soon. When Grand Elder Xiao Kun heard this, an icy chill coursed from his spine to the top of his head. He couldn't care less about the pain. As long as he remained alive, he could have a chance for revenge. I am convinced, Xiao Kun said, enduring the pain. Yi Li saw that the situation had been settled, and he prepared to leave. However, before he could turn around, a withered voice entered his ears. Who dares to cause a commotion in my Xiao family? Chapter 402. Who dares to stop me? The Xiao family members immediately made their way upon hearing that voice. The family head is here. Xiao Tsong was the family head of the Xiao family, a 9th-tier evolved being. Xiao Tsong looked at the Grand Elder who was still screaming. Although he had never been on good terms with Xiao Kun, they were still part of the Xiao family. Xiao Zhen saw the condition of his father, and his eyes turned red. He quickly told Xiao Tsong everything that had happened. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tsong couldn't help but feel furious. The Xiao family was one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City, and no one had dared to provoke them in such a way. Xiao Tsong stared at Yili's back, his expression becoming incredibly cold. "Do you know what your fate will be?" Xiao Tsong asked in a cold voice. Yili didn't turn around. He calmly spoke, "Can your Xiao family pose any threat to me?" Xiao Tsong was stunned. He hadn't been angry for many years, but at this moment, he couldn't help but be extremely angry. "How dare you look down on the Xiao family?" Yili smiled and turned around, looking at Xiao Tsong. He asked in a calm tone, "Does the Xiao family deserve my respect?" Xiao Tsong was somewhat shocked. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the young man before him. He hadn't forgotten this youth's face.
Is it you?"
When Yili had found the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bell, he had saved Xiao Tsong's life. "It's me," Yili replied slowly. Xiao Tsong had never expected that it would be Yili. For a while, Xiao Tsong didn't know what to do. Xiao Yuzhu watched Yili's indifferent face and recalled their conversation outside the Xiao family residence. "What realm are you actually in? If I told you I'm a 9th-tier evolved being, would you believe it?" Back then, she would never have believed it, even if she were beaten to death. Who would believe that someone of such a young age had reached the 9th tier? But now, she had no choice but to believe. "Now I want to leave your Xiao family. If anyone tries to stop me, one guarantee that they'll have a hard time dying," Yili said calmly. The Xiao family members didn't utter a word of objection. They could only stare at Yili in fear. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili slowly walked out of the Xiao family.
"Wait."
When Yili took a few steps, Xiao Tsong suddenly shouted at Yili's back. The Xiao family members were shocked. Thinking that the family had wanted to stop Yili, Yili paused, revealing a profile of his face.
"What?
"Do you want to stop me?" Even though he had saved Xiao Tsong's life once, he wouldn't hesitate to act if Xiao Tsong insisted on stopping him. "Mr. Yili, you're my savior. One just want you to stay in the Xiao family for a few days," Xiao Tsong said to Yili. When this was said, the Xiao family members were all petrified. They never imagined that the family head would say such a thing. They also had no idea that Yili was the one who saved the family head's life. Yili was also slightly taken aback. He hadn't expected Xiao Tsong to make such a request. After pondering for a few seconds, he turned around to face Xiao Tsong and said, "All right." Xiao Tsong felt a sense of joy upon hearing this, not expecting Yili to agree so readily. "Family head, he cut off my father's arm," Xiao Zhen, still unwilling to accept the situation, said to Xiao Tsong.
"Humph."
Xiao Tsong snorted and said, "The Grand Elder offended someone of Mr. Yili's caliber. He is fortunate that Mr. Yili only severed one of his arms. He should count himself lucky, so stop being ungrateful." Xiao Zhen had no choice but to remain silent. "Spread the word. A grand feast shall be held today," Xiao Tsong ordered. Chapter 403. Visiting the Zombie Paradise. Xiao Tsong knew well how formidable Yili was. When they met on the mountain, he couldn't forget Yili's extraordinary presence. If it weren't for Yili, he would have been dead long ago. Xiao Tsong had a lavish feast prepared directly. Since he couldn't obtain the Eastern Emperor Bell, building a good relationship with Yi Li was also a good outcome. Yili calmly looked at the table filled with exquisite dishes and began to eat and drink. He ate as quickly as he killed. Many people didn't even see his knife, and those people were already dead. Many people didn't even see him pick up his chopsticks, and he had already finished eating. The family head's lineage members were shocked. They had never seen someone eat so quickly before. Yili stayed at the Xiao family until the next day. He had originally planned to leave, but Xiao Yuzhu came over and asked him, "Mr. Yili, do you want to visit the zombie paradise?" Yili had heard of the zombie paradise before, as he had been to one in Annan Bay City. Xiao Yuzhu looked at him with pleading eyes. She really wanted him to go with her. "All right." Yili nodded. Currently, there was nothing too important on his plate, so he decided to go to the zombie paradise. When Yili agreed, Xiao Yuzhu's little face lit up with joy. Subsequently, Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu headed toward the zombie paradise. The zombie paradise in Sky Blue Bay City was located to the north and contained both low-level and high-level zombies. Low-level zombies ranged from levels 1 to 5. High-level zombies were levels 6 to 10. The zombie paradise in Sky Blue Bay City had dozens of enclosures, and the tickets were expensive. It wasn't something ordinary people could afford. When Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu arrived outside the zombie paradise, it had a whimsical appearance that resembled an amusement park. "Mr. Yi Li, please wait here for a moment. I'll go buy tickets," Xiao Yuzhu said to Yi Li. Yi Li nodded. He calmly looked at the zombie paradise entrance and noticed that many of the people here were ordinary awakened beings. It seemed that there were plenty of wealthy people in Sky Blue Bay City. Suddenly, a young man with an entourage approached. He appeared to be around 18 or 19 years old and was accompanied by a beautiful young woman. Several fifth-tier evolved beings followed behind him. "Hey, it's young Master Gu Bai. Gu Bai is so charismatic. I wish I could become young Master Gu Bai's woman. Give it up, look at yourself. Can young Master Gu Bai even notice you?" As one of the top 8 families in Sky Blue Bay City, the Gu family was well known, and Gu Bai was the young master of the direct lineage of the Gu family. Naturally, many people knew him. The offspring of the top 3 families had always been low-key, so they weren't well known to the public. Gu Bai enjoyed the envious glances of those around him. He held his head high, as if these people were only worthy of his disdain. One of the Gu family's fifth-tier evolved beings noticed someone blocking their path and was stunned. He had never encountered such a situation. When the young master went out, he always had a clear path, and no one had ever dared to block his way. This Gu family fifth-tier evolved being took a quick step forward and came to Yi Li. "Move aside." The fifth-tier evolved being said coldly to Yi Li. Yi Li didn't even glance at the fifth-tier evolved being, as if he hadn't heard anything. "Brat, if you didn't hear what one said, then perhaps you need to learn your lesson." The fifth-tier evolved being stared at Yi Li. "Who is this guy? How can he dare to block young Master Gu Bai's path? He must be tired of living." "That's right. Doesn't he know how powerful young Master Gu Bai is? Watch, this guy's fate is going to be terrible." The people outside the zombie paradise started whispering and pointing at Yi Li. Chapter 404. Ignorant woman. Young Master Gu, what's going on? The beautiful woman next to Gu Bai looked at him displeased and said, "Don't worry. Let me go check," Gu Bai said with a smile. With those words, Gu Bai stepped forward. "Who dares to block my path, Gu Bai?" Gu Bai said coldly. A fifth-tier evolved being quickly approached Gu Bai and said to him, "Young master, it's him who's blocking your way." Gu Bai looked up and couldn't understand why someone would dare to block his path in Sky Blue Bay City. But as he took a closer look, he took 3 steps back in shock. Yi Li. Gu Bai couldn't have imagined that the person blocking his way was actually Yi Li. Gu Bai knew how formidable Yi Li was. Even his father was no match for him. "Young Master Gu, don't waste your time with him. Just make him leave," the beautiful woman said to Gu Bai. Gu Bai swallowed hard upon hearing her words, then suddenly remembered what his father had told him. The grand elder of the Xiao family had severely injured Xia Hong. He thought that Yi Li should also be aware of all this. So, Gu Bai steadied his mind and stared at Yi Li, saying, "Yi Li, I didn't expect to see you here in Sky Blue Bay City." Yi Li looked at Gu Bai, and someone like Gu Bai just didn't interest him in the slightest for conversation. Why rustle the leaves when the tree wants to be still? Seeing that Yi Li didn't say anything, Gu Bai's face showed a hint of arrogance. "Yi Li, I've told you before, crossing my Gu family would lead to a terrible outcome. Don't you know that my Gu family has a very good relationship with the Xiao family in the top 3 families?" Gu Bai looked proudly at Yi Li, knowing that Yi Li wouldn't dare to do anything to him now. The people in the zombie paradise pitied Yi Li. They knew that his fate would be miserable. "Kneel down." Yi Li looked at Gu Bai and said indifferently, a lazy expression on his face. "What?" The people couldn't help but gasp in shock. They couldn't have imagined that Yi Li would actually say such words to young Master Gu. This guy wanted young Master Gu to kneel down to him? This was outrageous. The beautiful woman beside Gu Bai was shocked, too. After all, Gu Bai was the young master of the Gu family. How could this person dare to? Do you know who you're talking to? The woman looked at Yi Li disdainfully. Yi Li shook his head inwardly. This woman was not a genetic warrior, but an ordinary person. An ordinary person with such arrogance. It was truly absurd. Yi Li didn't pay attention to the woman. He looked at Gu Bai and repeated, "I'll say it again, kneel down. Don't make me say it a third time." For some reason, Gu Bai's entire body couldn't stop trembling. He looked into Yi Li's eyes and felt his soul submitting to Yi Li. "You loser, he's the young master of the Gu family." The woman was about to approach Yi Li, preparing to slap him in the face. Since becoming Gu Bai's woman, she felt supremely superior. Yi Li didn't want to argue with this woman, but she insisted on seeking death. What could he do? Women like her, how could they change? Only by disfiguring her could she change. As the woman's hand was about to strike, she was already sent flying, with a horrifying bloodstain appearing on her face. She landed heavily on the ground and screamed in pain. "You! How dare you hit me?" The woman was about to get up, and a young girl looked at her in terror. "Sister, you. Chapter 405. Kneel before me. The young girl seemed extremely frightened and had trouble finding her words. The woman was startled and quickly asked, "What happened to me?" "Sister, your face, that's disfigured." As soon as the words left the young girl's mouth, the woman took 3 steps back, feeling as though all the strength had been drained from her body. She hastily retrieved a pocket mirror and took a look. The woman screamed in fright and immediately fainted on the ground. Everyone thought that she had fainted, but when they reached out to feel her breath, they found that she was dead. What a pity, indeed. A woman with unparalleled beauty had met such a tragic fate. Yi Li didn't expect the woman to be frightened to death, but then he figured it out. Women who placed excessive importance on their appearance would find disfigurement more unbearable than death. He wondered if there were plastic surgeons in this parallel world. Daring to harm young master's woman? You're seeking death. A 5th tier evolved being rushed toward Yi Li. Yi Li shook his head. Why were there always so many people who overestimate themselves?
Swish.
With a piercing sound, the 5th tier evolved being fell to the ground, screaming like a pig. Everyone outside the zombie paradise was shocked. They would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than that Yi Li was so strong. Gu Bai was petrified. He felt like his soul had been sucked out of his body. Meanwhile, Xiao Yuzhu, carrying 2 tickets, approached. Gu Bai was taken aback and rubbed his eyes. When he realized he hadn't been mistaken, he stumbled and crawled to her side. Thud. Gu Bai knelt before Xiao Yuzhu and began to sob. "Miss Xiao, please save me. Please save me." Xiao Yuzhu was taken aback. She knew Gu Bai, but they had no prior connection. The onlookers were amazed to see young Master Gu Bai, who was kneeling before this girl. They began to wonder if she had an extraordinary background.
Right.
Gu Bai had referred to her as Miss Xiao. Could she be a member of the Xiao family, one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City? The top 3 families were not situated in the main city area, so most people knew very little about the descendants of these families. However, it was common knowledge that the Gu family had a strong connection with the Xiao family, as Gu Chao, the head of the Gu family, married the daughter of the Xiao family's grand elder. Miss Xiao, this person is a wicked man of unknown origin. He dared to make me kneel. Gu Bai began to wail at Xiao Yuzhu. Xiao Yuzhu rolled her eyes. Aren't you kneeling on the ground now? But the person he was talking about was Xiao Yuzhu suddenly realized something. Mr. Yi. Gu Bai, did you offend Mr. Yi? Xiao Yuzhu stared at Gu Bai and asked. When Gu Bai heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. The people around them were also taken aback. Xiao Yuzhu was calling this person Mr. Yi. Just who is this person? If Mr. Yi asked you to kneel, you should kneel obediently, or else your Gu family will face a catastrophe. Xiao Yuzhu's fair face displayed a touch of coldness. Gu Bai was shocked beyond words. He had originally wanted Xiao Yuzhu to save him, but He never expected her to say such words. He swallowed and looked at Yili again. Yili's eyes were murderous, and he exuded an intimidating aura. Gu Bai was scared out of his mind. He crawled in front of Yili and said, "Yili."
No.
"Mr. Yi." "No. Senior Yi, please spare my life. Please forgive my insolence." Gu Bai had keenly sensed that if he didn't kneel, he would meet a gruesome end. Chapter 406. Hunting Dark Race members. As they watched Gu Bai's pitiable display, their previous impression of him had crumbled. "Leave," Yili told Gu Bai indifferently. Yili had no desire to kill at the moment. If he had wanted to, Gu Bai would have died long ago. Hearing this, Gu Bai felt like he had been granted a pardon. He swiftly fled the scene with several fifth-tier evolved beings, reaching a speed that was faster than any recorded in history. "Mr. Yi, there were so many people in line inside. I only realized this now. It's just..." Xiao Yuzhu began to speak, but Yili raised his hand, interrupting her. "Let's go in," Yili said. Xiao Yuzhu breathed a sigh of relief, realizing that Yili didn't blame her. Subsequently, Yili and Xiao Yuzhu entered the zombie paradise. "Mr. Yi, inside the park, there are only common zombies and advanced zombies. There's no challenge. One bought tickets for hunting dark race members." Xiao Yuzhu looked at Yili tentatively. She didn't know how Yili would answer. "Whatever," Yili replied indifferently. Xiao Yuzhu walked up to an entrance where a bored staff member was idly fiddling with his fingers. The entrance led to areas with common zombies and advanced zombies. Genetic warriors frequented these areas, but almost no one dared to hunt dark race members. "We're here to hunt dark race members," Xiao Yuzhu told the staff member. The staff member was shocked as if he had been electrocuted. He quickly looked at Xiao Yuzhu and was stunned. She was too beautiful. He had never seen such beauty. Then, the staff member looked at Yili, who was beside Xiao Yuzhu, and was even more shocked. He didn't expect there to be such a handsome person in this world. Compared to him, the difference was like heaven and earth. However, the most important point wasn't their appearances, but that these two people seemed to be around 20 years old, and they actually dared to hunt dark race members? "She's sure. They're here to hunt dark race members."
Can you protect them?
The staff member asked. "She's sure." A middle-aged man was a fifth-tier evolved being and one of the strongest figures in the zombie paradise. She sure was a little stunned. No one had bought tickets to hunt dark race members this year. He looked at Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu up and down. He discovered that Xiao Yuzhu was a third-tier evolved being, but he couldn't tell Yi Li's realm. It couldn't be high. He must be concealing his realm. Given their ages and the fact that they were third-tier and potentially higher, she sure couldn't explain it unless they were both geniuses. "Please follow me in," she sure told Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu. Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu followed Shi Sure into the entrance. Inside, they found themselves in a grassy area with various animals infected by the zombie virus. However, there was no sign of dark race members. Guests, the highest-level dark race member inside is a third-tier humanoid mantis. "If you encounter one, please stand behind me," Shi Sure informed them. Yi Li felt bored. A third-tier dark race member was so weak that there was no challenge. Suddenly, an infected wild boar charged toward Yi Li. Yi Li raised a finger, and a shocking golden aura shot out, instantly killing the black boar. The whole process took less than a second. An SSS-level genetic warrior? Shi Sure was shocked and looked at Yi Li in disbelief. Ignoring Shi Sure, Yi Li used his heavenly spirit eyes to spot several humanoid mantis monsters. Chapter 407. "Mr. Yi, I can't beat him, let's go." With that, Yi Li walked over first. Xiao Yuzhu and Shi Sure quickly followed. The animals infected with the zombie virus began charging toward the three of them. Yi Li didn't take action. All of these virus-infected animals were dealt with by Xiao Yuzhu alone. Finally, a few third-tier humanoid mantis monsters appeared. Yi Li had encountered humanoid mantis monsters at the Annan Base City and the Huangjiang Base City. "You despicable humans," You dare to bring us here. I'm going to eat all of you." With a roar, a third-tier mantis monster pounced. "Be careful," she shouted. Yili slowly raised his finger and lightly tapped the humanoid mantis monster, piercing it with a golden spiritual power attack. Seeing this, Shishir was somewhat dumbfounded. Did a third-tier humanoid mantis monster really die like this? This SSS Gene Warrior was too terrifying. Shishir felt a bit ridiculous. He had just said that if they encountered a third-tier mantis monster, they should hide behind him. Now, it seemed like a joke. The other two humanoid mantis monsters were shocked. They turned around and prepared to escape. Yili pointed again, and one of the humanoid mantis monsters fell to the ground, bidding a final farewell to this world. The remaining humanoid mantis monster didn't dare to escape, but staying here meant certain death. Yili thought that since he was here, he might as well do Xiao Yuju a favor. "You fight this third-tier humanoid mantis monster, defeat him, and kill him," Yili said to Xiao Yuju. Generally, dark race members of the same realm were stronger than humans, making this a significant challenge for Xiao Yuju. But since Yili had given the order, Xiao Yuju naturally chose to follow it. Suddenly, Xiao Yuju unleashed her Diamond Palm. Diamond Palm was one of the martial arts of the Xiao family, capable of splitting rocks, and had tremendous power. The humanoid mantis monster knew he was already doomed, but he could at least take a human down with him. He opened his wings, leaped into the air, and dodged the Diamond Palm's attack. The third-tier humanoid mantis monster's arms were like blades, gleaming with cold light. He lunged at Xiao Yuju fiercely, and his speed was surprisingly fast. However, this speed was only fast to the third-tier realm. In Yili's eyes, it was like an ant crawling. Xiao Yuju was startled, and she quickly moved aside, but the third-tier humanoid mantis monster's speed was simply too fast. His attack tore a gash in her clothing. Fortunately, Xiao Yuju managed to create some distance from the third-tier humanoid mantis monster the instant her clothes were cut. Spiritual Chi Wave. In Xiao Yuzu's hand, a red spiritual energy ball formed, flying towards the humanoid mantis monster. But the humanoid mantis monster's speed was exceptionally fast, and the red spiritual energy ball missed him. As the saying goes in martial arts, there's no defense against speed. The third-tier humanoid mantis monster attacked Xiao Yuju once more. Xiao Yuju was startled, and at this distance and speed, she couldn't avoid the attack. Shishir was prepared to step in. It was their duty as members of Zombie Paradise. However, before he could take action, the third-tier humanoid mantis monster was pierced by a terrifying golden spiritual power attack. Xiao Yuju took a deep breath. She had thought she was going to die, but Yili intervened at the critical moment. "Mr. Yi, one can't beat him." Xiao Yuju lowered her head in embarrassment because she felt that she couldn't even look up to Yili. Chapter 408. Divine Beast Sky Swallowing Dog. It was normal for a third-tier genetic warrior to be unable to defeat a third-tier dark race member. Yili didn't say much and began to regret coming to the zombie paradise. It was just too dull. Shishir, standing awkwardly behind Yili, never expected that Yili was this powerful. Just when Yili was about to leave, he noticed something unusual. A small black dog, only a few months old, was confronting an infected wild boar.
Woof.
Woof. This small black dog didn't appear to be infected by the zombie virus. Yili watched the scene with interest, thinking the dog would be torn to shreds by the boar in an instant. Suddenly, the small black dog leaped at the infected wild boar. Yili hadn't expected the small dog to make the first move, which was intriguing. The infected wild boar was larger than a regular one, with tusks over 20 centimeters long and bloodshot eyes. Yili initially thought the small dog was picking a fight it couldn't win, but to his surprise, the dog managed to push the boar back a few steps.
Woof. Woof.
The little black dog continued to bark as if it was very proud of its victory. Yili found it quite interesting that such a tiny dog could have such strength. The small black dog went in for another attack, But this time the infected wild boar was furious and charged at the dog. The little black dog and the boar collided. To everyone's amazement, the infected wild boar was sent flying backward, crashing into the ground and creating a deep pit.
Woof.
Woof! The little black dog joyfully hopped around, proud of its achievement. Yeely was astounded by the scene. Ding! Divine Beast Sky Swallowing Dog detected. Please pick it up, host. The system's voice suddenly appeared in Yeely's mind. Yeely was taken aback. Sky Swallowing Dog. A divine beast? Yeely couldn't fathom how this tiny black dog could be connected to a divine beast, as it looked like a regular puppy to him. But since the system had identified it as a divine beast, it must be correct. Come here. Yeely called out to the small black dog. The dog appeared to understand Yeely's words and turned to look at him with curiosity. Yeely smiled faintly. From now on, I am your master.
Woof. Woof.
The little black dog barked angrily at Yeely. All right, you'll be called Xiaohei from now on, Yeely said slowly. Xiaohei's expression showed increasing anger, as if he strongly disliked this name. Xiao Yuzhu and Shishir were also surprised by the appearance of the dog in this place. Yeely accessed the point shop in his mind and found premium dog food. Premium dog food. Eating it makes dogs insatiable. It's the top quality dog food. Price: 3,000 points for 10 pounds. Without hesitation, Yeely spent 3,000 points to purchase 10 pounds of the dog food. He placed the dog food beside Xiaohei. The little dog's eyes lit up. It began eating voraciously. To Yeely's surprise, 10 caddies of dog food were eaten up by Xiaohei in no time. This was 10 caddies. When it finished, Xiaohei looked up as if it wanted more, without the hostility it had shown earlier. Yeely had essentially become Xiaohei's benefactor. Come here. Yeely called out to Xiaohei, and the dog obediently wagged its tail and approached Yeely. Chapter 409. Take me to a place with many zombies. Ding. Detected that the sky-swallowing dog has acknowledged you as its master. Do you want to bind bloodlines with the sky-swallowing dog? Yes. Yeely thought the sky-swallowing dog was quite interesting. Bloodline binding in progress. IO %, 30%, 60%, 100%. Bloodline binding between the host and sky-swallowing dog is complete. Yeely noticed that he could now view Xiaohei's attributes. Xiaohei, sky-swallowing dog. Attributes: strength, bloodline, divine beast. Level 5. Evolvement status: not evolved. Eating the crystallized brains of mutant zombies in a zombie's mind can trigger its evolution. Yeely was surprised. A crystallized brains of mutant zombies? He had never heard of such a thing before, so he had no idea where to find them.
Woof. Woof.
Xiaohei excitedly barked, and after the bloodline binding, he looked at Yeely as if Yeely were his father. Yeely thought that since eating the crystallized brains of mutant zombies could trigger evolution, he might as well find a place to try and upgrade his clawed zombies. Now that the 7 zombies in the Apocalypse Legion had all reached Tier 9, they could do whatever they wanted in the Sky Blue Base City. But the level of the 18 clawed zombies was still low, and they couldn't form combat power yet. After placing Xiaohei into the system space, Yeely began walking slowly toward the exit of the zombie paradise. Xiao Yuzhu quickly followed. Once they left the zombie paradise, Yeely turned to Xiao Yuzhu and said, "Take me to a place with many zombies." Xiao Yuzhu was puzzled by Yeely's request. A place with many zombies? There were quite a lot of zombies in the zombie paradise. Mr. Yi, when you mention a place with many zombies, are you referring to any area in the Sky Blue Base City with a high concentration of zombies? Take me there, Yeely replied slowly. Naturally, Xiao Yuzhu didn't understand why Yeely wanted to go to a place with many zombies, but she didn't dare to ask more questions. Someone like Yeely could go wherever he pleased. Mr. Yi, how about the Nanming district? It has the most zombies, and there are many mutated zombies there too. When Yeely heard this, his handsome face lit up. Let's go,
Yeely said.
Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuzhu led Yi Li to the Nanming district. After a short while, they arrived in the Nanming district. As Xiao Yuzhu had described, there were indeed a considerable number of zombies here. Yi Li released the members of the Apocalypse Legion. There was Ada, Bai Wawa, Hongye Yutong, Swordman Achi, Bone Maiden, and Long Yu. Xiao Yuzhu was taken aback. She hadn't expected 7 humans to suddenly appear. But seeing Yi Li's calm demeanor, she felt reassured. However, when she looked into their eyes, her shock reached a whole new level. Purple golden eyes. Every one of them had purple golden eyes. Her grandfather had once told her that in heavily infected areas, there were many high-level zombies and dark race members. The purple golden eyes corresponded to 9th-tier zombies. Once they reached the 10th tier, their eyes would become identical to those of humans, making it difficult to distinguish them based on eye color. They could only be distinguished by the faint zombification on their faces. If you encountered a zombie with slightly decomposed features but no special eye color, you should know you've encountered a 10th-tier zombie king. Xiao Yuzhu was so startled that she took 3 steps back and almost stumbled. She looked at the Apocalypse Legion with a mixture of fear and astonishment. "They won't harm you. There's nothing to be afraid of," Yi Li said calmly. Chapter 4:10:1 Yi Li. Am not from the dark race. Xiao Yuzhu was shocked. She looked at the Apocalypse Legion in shock. Yi Li's words made her fear the worst. Could these 7 9th-tier zombies actually belong to Yi Li? The realization sent shivers down her spine. It was widely known that only dark race members could control zombies. She never expected Yi Li to be a dark race member, especially since he looked just like a regular human. Yi Li understood what Xiao Yuzhu was thinking. He looked at her calmly and said, "One Yi Li am not from the dark race." His words stunned Xiao Yuzhu even further. How did he know what she was thinking? This was incredibly unnerving.
Roar, roar.
Suddenly, dozens of zombies charged towards them, howling as they approached. "Go, Ada," Yi Li said calmly. With that, Yi Li opened the synthesis grid in his mind. With his command, Ada shot out instantly. Before Xiao Yuzhu could even react, all the zombies lay dead on the ground. But before her shock could subside, she noticed that their numbers were decreasing until only 1 remained. Xiao Yuzhu was paralyzed as she witnessed the impossible. How is this possible? The zombies were not only dwindling in number, but their levels were also increasing. Xiao Yuzhu looked at Yi Li in shock. Suddenly, she thought of something and felt as if she had been electrocuted. It was Yi Li who made the zombies dwindle in number but improve in strength. At this moment, she finally comprehended Yi Li's true terrifying nature. Thankfully, the Xiao family had not offended him, or they might have been obliterated by his 7 9th-tier zombies in an instant. Yi Li, with his serene expression, appeared completely uninterested. The zombies no longer held his attention. His method for synthesizing zombies had remained the same since long ago. He would have the Apocalypse Legion lure zombies to his location. After the members of the Apocalypse Legion went to different places to attract zombies, Yi Li prepared to take out some food from the system space. However, he realized that a significant portion of the food was gone, and the culprit was none other than Xiaohe. Xiaohe was enjoying a hearty meal in the system space, and he had never experienced such a feast from birth until now. Yi Li shook his head in resignation. He couldn't blame Xiao. After all, the little guy was a divine beast. Without much thought, Yi Li retrieved a box of food from the system space. "Come and eat with me," Yi Li said to Xiao Yuzhu. Xiao Yuzhu, who was trembling uncontrollably, had lost her appetite entirely. She was overcome with fear. Yi Li chuckled to himself. She was scared now? He nodded slightly, looked at the sun in the sky, and murmured to himself, "True fear has yet to begin." Moments later, Xiao Yuzhu suddenly shivered. She heard the sounds of countless zombies. She hadn't paid them any attention before, but when she finally took a look, she was horrified. Zombies surrounded them from all directions, like a dark cloud overhead. Xiao Yuzhu, was on the verge of tears. "Mr. Yi, what should we do?" She was the cherished gem of the Xiao family, and she didn't want to die. Yili gave a faint smile. "No need to panic." When the Apocalypse Legion and the zombies were a certain distance away, Yili issued a command. "Ada, by Wawa, Hongya, Yutong, Swordsman, All Chi, Bone Maiden, and Long Yu began to take action. Chapter 411. Extracting 3 blue corpse crystals, Yili opened the synthesis grid in his mind and started synthesizing zombies. The only regret was that there were no mutant zombies. Yili's virtual finger speed in his mind had reached an incredible level. A level 3 zombie synthesized, a level 4 zombie synthesized. In the end, Yili merged all 18 clawed zombies into second-tier zombies. Yili thought they were alright, as second-tier zombies still possessed some combat power, but he naturally felt they were still too weak. What about the mutant zombies? To evolve, mutant zombies needed corpse crystals from the brains of other zombies, so did Xiaohei. Yili was about to use his heavenly spirit eyes to search for some when he noticed Xiao Yuzhu had turned to stone. Her eyes were wide open, and her fair face was filled with fear, as if she had just witnessed the most horrifying scene in history. Yili chuckled to himself. Any person who witnessed him synthesizing zombies would react this way. He had seen this reaction countless times. "Are you scared?" Yili looked at Xiao Yuzhu calmly. Startled, Xiao Yuzhu snapped out of her daze. Not only was she scared, but she was also extremely scared. She didn't know how to respond to Yili. Before she could answer, Yili continued, "Never be afraid, because everything one do will make you scared for 3 days and 3 nights. His words left Xiao Yuzhu stunned. She swallowed hard and stared at Yili's face. She realized that Yili's expression was incredibly calm, something she had never seen before in anyone. Yili didn't pay any more attention to Xiao Yuzhu. He activated his heavenly spirit eyes to search for mutant zombies. He was indeed lucky. He quickly spotted a few mutant zombies, though they were only first-tier mutants. Without much thought, Yili walked towards them. The Apocalypse Legion followed closely behind. Xiao Yuzhu had no choice but to follow, even though she was apprehensive. It didn't take long for Yili to come across 3 first-tier zombies. When regular level 10 advanced zombies reached the first tier, they displayed some level of intelligence, although it was limited. The 3 first-tier zombies, upon noticing humans, lunged towards them like starving ghosts. Yili raised his fingers, and 3 golden spiritual energy attacks burst forth. The 3 first-tier zombies instantly lost their combat abilities. Yili pondered how he could extract the corpse crystals from their brains. He opened the system's point shop to see if there were any relevant tools. He wasn't particularly hopeful, but to his surprise, he found what he needed. Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill can extract corpse crystals from the brains of mutant zombies. Price: 10,000 points. Yili purchased the Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill. Do you want to cultivate the Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill? Yes. 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. The Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill has been successfully cultivated. With the system's voice fading away, Yili's mind contained all the information about the Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill. He looked at the 3 first-tier zombies on the ground, now incapacitated, and used the Corpse Crystal Extraction Skill on them. A stream of spiritual energy burst from Yili's hand, striking the heads of the 3 first-tier zombies. A few seconds later, 3 blue corpse crystals were extracted from their brains. The 3 first-tier zombies had lost their vitality the moment the corpse crystals were removed. Yili thought that these crystals were like the human heart. Once they were gone, the zombies would die. Chapter 412. Adorable Yutong Yi, Li released Xiaohei from the system space.
Woof, woof.
Xiaohei wagged its tail excitedly, seemingly curious about everything. Yili tossed 3 corpse crystals to Xiaohei, and its eyes lit up. To Xiaohei, this was the finest delicacy. It swallowed one of the blue corpse crystals in a single gulp, finding it incredibly delicious. It quickly devoured the other two as well. In an instant, Xiao He went from level 5 to level 7. Its size had grown slightly, but there weren't any noticeable changes. Brother, this dog is so annoying. Just now, it kept stealing your food in the system space, Yutong complained, looking disdainfully at Xiao He. Hee, that's right. Bai Wawa chimed in with a silly grin.
Woof.
Woof. Xiao He seemed to understand and barked menacingly at Yutong and Bai Wawa. Yili chuckled. Since when did Yutong and Bai Wawa become allies? This was quite interesting. We'll talk about this later. Continue to find mutant zombies. After you defeat them, bring them to me. Yili gave the Apocalypse Legion another command. The Apocalypse Legion began searching for mutant zombies, and Xiao He excitedly bounced around on the ground. Surprisingly, it followed Yutong. Get lost, or it'll hit you. Yutong glared at Xiao He, fuming.
Woof.
Woof. Xiao He barked back as if to say, I want leave.
What are you going to do about it?
Yili gave a faint smile. These two were quite the pair. Yutong, Xiao He, be careful, and Yutong, protect Xiao He.
Go on now, Yili said slowly.
Yutong pouted, but followed her master's command. Xiao Yuzhu was originally very scared, but seeing Yutong so cute, she felt that her heart was about to melt. This was a 9th-tier zombie. For some inexplicable reason, she wasn't scared anymore. Mr. Yi, are you really not a member of the Dark Race? Xiao Yuzhu asked cautiously. Yili smiled. Do you think I need to lie to you? Xiao Yuzhu didn't dare to ask any further questions. She was afraid of displeasing Yili, but she didn't think the Dark Race members looked like humans. So Mr. Yi should be a human. Although she didn't know how Yili could control Tier 7 zombies, this world was so big. There were all kinds of strange things in this world. But there was no doubt that Yili was incredibly powerful, terrifying, and formidable. In the Sky Blue Bay City, there are 2 treasures, the Eastern Emperor Bell Fragment and the Divine Beast, the Sky-Swallowing Dog. We have to take at least one of them back this time. Otherwise, if we anger Master, you know the consequences. Last time, you mentioned that you found a fragment of the Eastern Emperor Bell and had a fierce battle with a 9th-tier evolved being. At a critical moment, a human powerhouse appeared. Is there really such a figure that exists in the Sky Blue Bay City? I assume they are also here to find the Eastern Emperor Bell Fragment and the Sky-Swallowing Dog. Yili had exceptional hearing, and he naturally heard the conversation. He wore a smile because one of those figures was the Thunder Beast he had encountered when he found the other half of the Eastern Emperor Bell. He didn't expect there to be 2 9th-tier Dark Race members. Let's go, Yili said indifferently. Go where? Xiao Yuzhu looked at Yili in confusion. We've encountered 2 members of the Dark Race. Let's go have some fun. With those words, Yili began to take his steps. By the time Xiao Yuzhu snapped out of her daze, Yili was already 10 steps ahead. She quickly followed. Chapter 413. Thunderbeast and Steelbone. Yili used the Heavenly Spirit Eyes to see the 2 Dark Race members. One of them was the Thunder Beast, which was no surprise, as Yili had encountered it before. The other Dark Race member was extremely ugly, hunched with a skeletal figure and a sharp blade protruding from its back. This Dark Race member was called Steelbone and was also a 9th-tier Dark Race member. They were currently on the rooftop of a high-rise building, looking down at everything below. While Xiao Yuzhu was walking, she realized she hadn't seen the Dark Race members. Give me your hand, Yili said casually to Xiao Yuzhu.
What?
Xiao Yuzhu was taken aback. She hadn't expected Yili to say that. However, she extended her hand to Yili, not daring to refuse him. Yili grabbed her hand, and Xiao Yuzhu felt a comforting warmth. She glanced at Yili's peerlessly handsome face and secretly wished that she could be Yili's girlfriend. But she knew it was just a dream. Then, Yili leaped, and before Xiao Yuzhu could react, she found herself on a rooftop. She had no time to contemplate the situation because she saw two dark race members with incredibly powerful auras. Xiao Yuzhu was taken aback by the evil aura emanating from Thunderbeast and Steelbone. It felt suffocating. Thunderbeast and Steelbone were equally surprised and hadn't expected two humans to suddenly appear. It's you. After recognizing Yili's face, Thunderbeast was shocked. Thunderbeast, do you know this human youth? Steelbone asked. It's him. He defeated me and took the fragment of the Eastern Emperor Bell. He also has the dragon-slaying saber. Steelbone was startled. The dragon-slaying saber, one of the 10 great divine weapons. Xiao Yuzhu, who was from the Xie family, had witnessed the power of the Eastern Emperor Bell when Yi Li had used it. It had caused a massive earthquake. She couldn't help but think that Yi Li had one of the 10 great divine weapons in his hand. Ha ha ha. Steelbone suddenly laughed. Thunderbeast, even though you were defeated by him, you were alone at that time. Now there are two of us. Steelbone put on an extremely grim smile. This was an awakening for Thunderbeast, who realized that with their combined strength, they had the upper hand. Yi Li shook his head. He had fought two 9th-tier Dark Race members single-handedly when he was in the Wilderness Zone, let alone now. However, what made him hesitate was that Xiao Yuzhu was beside him. If he didn't bring her up here with him, she might encounter danger below. Yi Li felt that Xiao Yuzhu would be much safer by his side. Human, start by telling us your name, and I might just respect you, Thunderbeast said, his gaze fixed on Yi Li. Yi Li. Yi Li replied calmly. Steelbone, on the other hand, was growing impatient. Thunderbeast, stop talking to this human. Let's kill them and take the dragon-slaying saber and the Eastern Emperor Bell fragment. Xiao Yuzhu was in shock, as the two Dark Race members exuded terrifying auras. There was no doubt that these Dark Race members were exceptionally formidable. Now that the Apocalypse Legion was not around Mr. Yi, she didn't know if Yi Li would be in danger. She didn't dare to continue thinking. Human, I suggest you hand over the dragon-slaying saber and the Eastern Emperor Bell fragment, or you will have no place to be buried. Steelbone said coldly. Chapter 414. Why did you choose suicide? Yi Li's expression remained unchanged, and he looked calmly at Steelbone. Guess I'll listen to you or not? While Thunderbeast and Steelbone were both 9th-tier Dark Race members, compared to Yi Li, they were worlds apart. Steelbone grew angry. In that case, we'll have to take your life. With those words, a cold light shot out from behind Steelbone. Coming straight at Yi Li, Xiao Yuzhu was horrified as the attack's evil aura overwhelmed her, making it hard to breathe. The attack was as fast as lightning, and many genetic warriors wouldn't have been able to evade it. In Yi Li's eyes, the speed was far from impressive and was, in fact, quite slow. With a swift move, Yi Li evaded the attack. He then summoned the dragon-slaying saber from the system's space. Instantly, the rooftop was filled with chilling radiance, and the roar of a 5-clawed blood dragon illusion appeared overhead, sending chills down everyone's spine. Flame Blade Technique. Yi Li swung the saber horizontally, and the dragon-slaying saber emitted numerous fire blades. Thunderbeast and the Steelbone were shocked and hurriedly dodged. The Flame Blade Technique was not strong, so Thunderbeast and the Steelbone dodged it without much effort. Thunderbeast wielded dual hammers and struck the ground heavily in front of him. Boom! Instantly, a terrifying bolt of lightning came crashing towards Yi Li. Yi Li just smiled. While the attack seemed fierce, it wasn't particularly frightening to him. Quite the opposite, it seemed quite friendly.
Swish!
With a casual swing of his sword, Yi Li cut through the incoming thunderbolt. Thunderbeast and Steelbone were left in disbelief, especially Steelbone, who had never witnessed Yi Li's fearsomeness. Seeing Yi Li demonstrate such strength now, he couldn't help but be shocked. Is this the power of the dragon-slaying saber? Steelbone asked coldly as he stared at Yi Li's blade. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuzhu turned her gaze to Yi Li, who appeared as calm as water, as though nothing had happened. For some reason, Xiao Yuzu's nervous heart began to stabilize. Why did you choose suicide? Yili asked nonchalantly. This left Thunderbeast and Steelbone puzzled. It was evident they didn't understand what Yili meant. Yili, what do you mean? Thunderbeast asked. Yili smiled. Everything you're doing now is akin to suicide, isn't it? How could Thunderbeast and the Steelbone not understand? They were infuriated by Yili's words. Despite Yili's terrifying strength, they were two 9th-tier Dark Race members. Yili, today, you'll have no way to escape today. With that declaration, Thunderbeast hammered the ground heavily, and another terrifying thunderbolt came crashing towards Yili. Yili shook his head, still wondering why people never believed him. But what happened next was clear. Yili avoided the thunderbolt and leaped into the air, holding the dragon-slaying saber high and enunciating each word clearly, primordial demon slash. Instantly, 3,000 demonic shadows rushed at Thunderbeast and Steelbone at a mind-boggling speed. Seeing such an attack, the Thunderbeast and the Steelbone were instantly scared out of their wits. They would never have dreamed that Yili could launch such a terrifying slash. Frantically, they employed their most potent skills to defend against it.
Boom.
In an instant, the entire building collapsed. Chapter 415. Is there a place with more zombies? Yili grabbed Xiao Yuzu's hand and leaped down to the ground. Thunderbeast and Steelbone were in a sorry state. They were terrified and couldn't believe how powerful Yili's previous attack had been. Had they not used their most potent skills, they might have met their end. Yili, we've already withstood your most powerful attacks. There's nothing left to hesitate about. Hand over the dragon-slaying saber and the East Emperor bell, Steelbone said coldly. Glaring at Yili, Yili smiled faintly, as he found Steelbone quite amusing. Do you really think that's my most powerful skill? Yili asked slowly. Thunderbeast and Steelbone were alarmed as they suddenly realized what Yili meant. They were about to say something, but Yili had already raised the dragon-slaying saber again. Sky Demon Tyrant Blade Technique. As the words fell, the blade fell. A formidable demonic shadow, bearing a gigantic axe, advanced at an alarming pace, looking extremely terrifying. Seeing this, Thunderbeast and the Steelbone were dumbstruck. Teach this. At this moment, a word appeared in the minds of Thunderbeast and Steelbone. Escape. So they did. Thunderbeast and Steelbone fled at their maximum speed, as they now saw Yili as nothing but a madman, a total lunatic. Yili didn't pursue them. There was no need to. He retracted the dragon-slaying saber and, with a calm expression, gazed at Xiao Yuzu, who had turned into stone-like form. Let's go, Yili said calmly. Xiao Yuzu snapped out of her trance, gazing at Yili's carefree figure, feeling the charm in it. For a moment, Xiao Yuzu's heart was pounding like a scared deer. The two returned to their previous location. The Apocalypse Legion had not come back yet. Yili found a place to sit and patiently waited for the Apocalypse Legion's return. Before long, they arrived. Ada led with 2 mutant zombies, while the others each brought one. Unexpectedly, even Xiao He carried a mutant zombie's corpse in his mouth. The tiny dog, about the size of a palm, appeared quite comical. 16 first-tier mutant zombies. Yili extracted 16 blue corpse crystals from the heads of the 16 zombies.
Woof. Woof.
Xiao He was excited to see the blue corpse crystals and couldn't wait to consume them. Without any hesitation, Yili gave all 16 blue corpse crystals to Xiao He. Xiao He began to eat fiercely, one bite at a time, as if he were eating the most delicious food in the world. Yili observed Xiao He's body and noticed it had grown larger after consuming the 16 blue corpse crystals. Yili checked Xiao He's stats. Xiao He. Sky-swallowing dog. Attributes: Strength, Bloodline, Divine Beast. Level 10. Yili thought that if it was evolution, Xiao He should be able to evolve when it reached Tier 1. Above level 10 was Tier 1. He had to continue looking for the mutant zombie. Besides here, is there any place with more mutated zombies? Yili looked at Xiao Yuzhu and said. Xiao Yuzhu paused, contemplating for a few seconds, then nodded at Yili, saying yes. In Corpse City. Corpse City? Just hearing the name, Yili knew that it must be teeming with zombies. Mr. Yi, Corpse City is the area in Sky Blue Base City with the most zombies. There are no dark race members there, and the leader there is a 6-tier zombie. Yili found it intriguing. He had only encountered Bone Maiden, a 6-tier zombie, in the wilderness zone. Chapter 416. Heading to Corpse City, Yili looked at Xiao Yuzhu. Let's go to Corpse City. But Mr. Yi, the Sky Blue Academy students are currently having a trial on the outskirts of Corpse City, Xiao Yuzhu said, looking somewhat troubled. Xiao Yuzhu had recently graduated from Sky Blue Academy and had the opportunity to go to Cloud Peak Academy, but she thought it was too far away and decided not to go. What does Sky Blue Academy, having a trial on the outskirts of Corpse City, have to do with us going to Corpse City? Yili asked calmly. Xiao Yuzhu was momentarily stunned and didn't dare to continue. Mr. Yi, should we head to Corpse City now? Xiao Yuzhu asked, looking at Yili. Yes. Yili nodded. After placing the Apocalypse Legion and Xiao He into the system space, Yili and Xiao Yuzhu set off toward Corpse City. Corpse City was quite a distance away. If they had to walk there, it would take a considerable amount of time. Yili quickly grasped the direction to Corpse City, then grabbed Xiao Yuzhu's hand, activating the swift steps. He was literally flying in the air. Yili's swift steps were now an SSS rank skill, making him incredibly fast. In no time at all, Yili and Xiao Yuzhu arrived at the outskirts of Corpse City. Xiao Yuzhu was astounded by the breathtaking speed. She had always known that Yili was fast, but this was on a whole new level. Yili ignored Xiao Yuzhu's shocked expression. Anyone encountering such a phenomenon would undoubtedly be amazed. Surveying Corpse City, it appeared similar to the ruined city in the wilderness zone. Currently, Yili and Xiao Yuzhu were in a forest outside the city. As they were about to head into Corpse City, they heard several voices. Haha, ironclad boar, I've killed 3 of them. I've also killed 5 red snakes. It looks like there are 2 people ahead. 5 or 6 Sky Blue Academy students seemed perplexed. Yili and Xiao Yuzhu weren't wearing the academy uniform, which meant they were not students of Sky Blue Academy. Let's go take a look. The students headed toward Yili and Xiao Yuzhu. When they got closer, the students spotted Xiao Yuzhu and were a little stunned. Senior Sister Xiao, what are you doing here? During her time at the academy, Xiao Yuzhu had been the center of attention. It could be said that everyone in the academy knew her. I guess Senior Sister Xiao must be here to see Senior Lin Cheng, a student said. Lin Cheng was a member of the Lin family, one of the top 3 families. He was known as his family's #1 genius and had already graduated from Sky Blue Academy. However, he had chosen to stay behind to challenge the academy's Martial Tower. Since the establishment of the Martial Tower at Sky Blue Academy, no one had reached the top floor. All students at the academy knew that Lin Cheng had feelings for Xiao Yuzhu. They were regarded as a match made in heaven, both hailing from prestigious families, which made countless students envious. During this trip organized by Sky Blue Academy, Lin Cheng, of course, had to join. Hearing all this, Yili understood why Xiao Yuzhu had been reluctant to come to Corpse City. But he didn't care about these matters. Right now, he was focused on upgrading Xiao He to the 1st-tier realm and seeing if it would evolve. Xiao Yuzhu was about to speak, but one of the students said, Sister Xiao, 111, go tell Senior Lin Cheng right away that you're here. Then the student walked away. Chapter 417. The Furious Lin Cheng. Mr. Yili, what do you think? Xiao Yuzhu looked at Yili, wanting to know his opinion. Let's go to Corpse City, Yili said calmly. He didn't want to get involved in these minor matters. Xiao Yuzhu nodded and, together with Yili, continued towards Corpse City. They were now on the outskirts of Corpse City, and it was not far from the city. To Yili's surprise, They hadn't walked more than a few steps when the student who had left earlier returned with a man in his 20s. The man was handsome, but compared to Yili, he naturally fell short. Yuzhu, one never expected to see you here, the man said with a faint smile, addressing Xiao Yuzhu. The man was none other than Lin Cheng, the #1 genius of both the top 3 families and the Sky Blue Academy. What does it have to do with you that I'm here? Xiao Yuzhu frowned, showing her disinterest in Lin Cheng. Yuzhu, you know that you and I have a marriage arrangement, and I will be your husband in the future, Lin Cheng said. Yili didn't like hearing such words, and he was about to ask Xiao Yuzhu to leave when Lin Cheng said, "Who is this?" Lin Cheng stared at Yili and couldn't help but wrinkle his brow. He had always thought that he was the most handsome man in the Sky Blue Bay City, but now he felt an overwhelming sense of inferiority when he compared himself to Yili. He even had the sensation that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Yili wasn't interested in responding to Lin Cheng. Instead, he spoke to Xiao Yuzhu. "Let's go to Corpse City." "Okay, Mr. Yi," Xiao Yuzhu replied. Lin Cheng was angry when he heard this. As the #1 genius of the top 3 families in the Sky Blue Bay City, he was actually ignored? Wait. Lin Cheng shouted coldly at Yili. Yili paused, looking at Lin Cheng. He asked, "What's the matter?" "Who are you?" Lin Cheng asked in a cold tone. Lin Cheng was undoubtedly the center of attention as a prominent figure at Sky Blue Academy on this trip to Corpse City's outskirts. Soon enough, more students from Sky Blue Academy gathered. Yili suddenly smiled lightly. Lin Cheng was puzzled by the smile. He couldn't understand why Yili was smiling. "Why are you laughing?" Lin Cheng asked coldly. "You want to know my name? Are you worthy?" Yili's eyes showed a hint of mockery. Lin Cheng, while undoubtedly talented, was only a Tier 4 evolved being. Before Yili, he was nothing more than an ant. Dozens of Sky Blue Academy students were left dumbfounded by Yili's words. In their eyes, Lin Cheng was like a prince from a fairy tale. They couldn't believe that Yili would dare to speak to Lin Cheng this way. Who is this guy? He's so arrogant. Yeah, doesn't he know how powerful Senior Lin Cheng is? I think he must be crazy. Just wait. Senior Lin Cheng will definitely make him regret it. The students from Sky Blue Academy all mocked Yili. "Lin Cheng, one advise you to leave now, or else you'll regret provoking Mr. Yi," Xiao Yuzhu told Lin Cheng, looking at him. She wanted to give him a friendly warning. If he didn't listen, there was nothing more she could do. Lin Cheng was further infuriated by her words and glared at Yili. "Do you know who 1 a.m.?" Chapter 418. Let me, Yili, apologize. Are you even worthy? As the young master of the Lin family, one of the top 3 families in Sky Blue Bay City, there was no one who dared to speak to Lin Cheng this way. "Big brother, what's going on?" A voice reached the students' ears. Sky Blue Bay City students followed the voice and saw a young man walking towards them. It's Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng and Lin Cheng were brothers. Lin Cheng was Lin Cheng's younger brother, a super genius at Sky Blue Academy, and one of the prominent figures too. Lin Cheng suddenly looked at Yili, and he took 3 steps backward. He had met Yili before, as Xiao Yuzhu had asked him to teach Yili a lesson. However, he had been thoroughly shocked when Yili turned the tables on him. Yili naturally didn't even bother to look at Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng didn't answer, his gaze fixed on Yili. "Do you not know that 1 a.m. the heir of the Lin family, one of the top 3 families?" Lin Cheng stared at Yili intently. Yili smiled faintly. "What does your identity as a member of the Lin family have to do with me?" The moment this statement came out, the students from Sky Blue Academy were left dumbfounded. They had seen arrogance before, but never such an extreme level of it. Hearing this, Lin Cheng was extremely angry. "I want you to apologize to me now." Xiao Yuzhu looked at Lin Cheng's furious expression and couldn't help but sigh. When you bring trouble upon yourself, you shouldn't expect others to bail you out. The students from Sky Blue Academy were also filled with indignation as they watched Yili. Lin Cheng had been their absolute idol, and now someone was trampling on their idol. How could they not be angry? "Apologize?" Yili chuckled. He found Lin Cheng's behavior quite amusing. Do you think you're worthy of an apology from me? Not to mention a mere tier 4 evolved being like Lin Cheng, in this parallel world, who could make Yi Li apologize? Who was worthy of Yi Li apologizing? Lin Cheng's face turned scarlet with rage. You're asking for death. Finally, Lin Cheng could no longer suppress his anger and launched a punch at Yi Li. Yi Li smiled faintly. He really admired Lin Cheng for his audacity. He couldn't understand why Lin Cheng dared to strike him. He found it absurd. Yi Li stood in place like a statue, as if he regarded Lin Cheng as nothing more than air, allowing Lin Cheng's ore-infused fist to come down. The students from Sky Blue Academy believed that Yi Li would surely be knocked to the ground by Lin Cheng's punch. They thought Yi Li had been frightened to the point where he didn't know how to dodge. But only Xiao Yuzhu knew that Lin Cheng's punch wouldn't cause the slightest harm to Yi Li, even if it struck. Just as Lin Cheng's ore-infused fist was about to touch Yi Li, Lin Chen sneered. He had initially thought that Yi Li was somewhat powerful to be able to make such arrogant statements. Now, however, he realized that he was not only wrong, but also utterly wrong. There was no doubt that this punch struck Yi Li's body heavily. Yet, what none of the students from Sky Blue Academy could have foreseen was that, when Lin Cheng's fist landed on Yi Li's body, Lin Cheng was sent flying backward. How was that possible? The students from Sky Blue Academy couldn't help but gasp and were left in shock. They had clearly seen Lin Cheng's punch hit Yi Li's body, so why was it Lin Cheng who was sent flying backward? They hadn't seen Yi Li make a move at all. Lin Cheng landed heavily on the ground. He felt that the moment his fist touched Yi Li's body, his internal organs were displaced, and his hand had already fractured. Chapter 419, Step Aside, or you'll be lying on the ground. Lin Cheng couldn't possibly have imagined such a scene. There was only one possible explanation for it. Yi Li was a master of body refinement. Lin Cheng was a 4th-tier evolutionary, and though he was in intense pain, he gritted his teeth and managed to get up from the ground. He stared intently at Yi Li. I didn't expect you to be this strong, Lin Cheng said. The students from Sky Blue Bay City also couldn't believe what they were seeing. They had thought that Yi Li would be defeated by Lin Cheng, but instead, they witnessed this extraordinary turn of events. But you've offended me, which means you've offended the Lin family. Don't you know how terrifying the Lin family is? In Lin Cheng's eyes, if Yi Li knew the true power of the Lin family, he wouldn't have dared to do those things to him. Ants are just ants, Yi Li replied, shaking his head gently. Lin Cheng was already infuriated beyond measure. He knew that Yi Li was stronger than him, but to think that Yi Li would treat the Lin family as if it were nothing. Before he could speak, Yi Li continued, Ants never understand how high the heavens are and how broad the earth is. What's going on? Suddenly, a deep voice echoed through the scene. The students from Sky Blue Academy quickly made way as a middle-aged man, who was almost 50 years old, approached. This middle-aged man was named Wang Jin, a 6th-tier evolutionary. He was a teacher at Sky Blue Academy and the leader of this group of students on their expedition to the outskirts of Corp City. Wang teacher, what's going on? Then, one of the female students, who regarded Lin Cheng as an idol, recounted the entire incident to Wang Jin. Wang Jin was taken aback when he heard the story. He then looked at Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu. Yuzhu. Wang Jin's words weren't finished, as Xiao Yuzhu interrupted, saying, Mr. Wang, Lin Cheng offended Mr. Yi. He asked for it, Xiao Yuzhu said. She had already given Lin Cheng a kind warning, but Lin Cheng didn't listen. What could she do? Mr. Yi? Wang Jin was somewhat surprised. Xiao Yuzhu, as the 3rd young miss of the Xiao family, was calling the young man before her Mr. Did this young man have a remarkable background? However, it was just a guess on his part, and he didn't dare to offend the Lin family. After all, Lin Xinghai, the head of the Lin family, was the honorary president of Sky Blue Academy. This is the trial ground for Sky Blue Academy, and there's a blockade outside. Why did you intrude here? Wang Jin fixed his gaze on Yi Li. If you don't want to be lying on the ground, step aside, Yi Li said calmly. He found Wang Jin's question rather ludicrous. In such a vast world, he, Yili, could go wherever he pleased, including this place. Wang Jin was taken aback by Yi Li's response. He hadn't expected a young man who appeared to be in his early 20s to speak to him, a sixth-tier evolved being, in such a manner. For a moment, Wang Jin became angry. All the students of the Sky Blue Academy gnashed their teeth and glared at Yi Li. Did this person not take their Sky Blue Academy seriously at all? Do you dare to say it again? Wang Jin stared at Yi Li and said firmly. Yi Li shook his head slightly and looked at Wang Jin indifferently. I didn't expect you to be deaf in addition to being pitifully weak. As soon as he said this, Wang Jin's eyes widened. Arrogant? Too arrogant. I'll say it again. Get out of the way. Don't make me say it a third time, Yi Li said. If one don't step aside, Wang Jin coldly retorted. The students from Sky Blue Academy were seething with anger, all of them hoping that Wang Jin would take action to uphold the honor of Sky Blue Academy. Chapter 420. Arriving at Corpse City, Yi Li smiled faintly. He couldn't understand why Wang Jin dared to speak to him in such a manner. It was quite ridiculous. Well then, I'll have to let you lie on the ground, Yi Li slowly responded. With that, an astonishing golden spirit light erupted from Yi Li's fingertips, attacking Wang Jin directly. Seeing this attack, Wang Jin's expression paled as he realized he couldn't evade it. The astonishing golden spirit light struck Wang Jin's leg directly, and in an instant, he fell to the ground. Ollie! Wang Jin let out a blood-curdling scream that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Lin Chen and the students from Sky Blue Academy were left in disbelief. They never expected that Wang Jin, a sixth-tier evolved being, would be defeated by a single blow. Moreover, the blow was delivered by a terrifying golden spirit light that pierced through his thigh. Golden spirit light. The students from Sky Blue Academy suddenly realized something. Golden spirit energy corresponded to SSS-level gene warriors, didn't it? Thinking about this, both Lin Chung and the students were stunned, as they all turned to look at Yi Li. However, even legendary SSS-level gene warriors couldn't possibly defeat a sixth-tier evolved being in the blink of an eye at such a young age. At this moment, the students from Sky Blue Academy were utterly shocked. Yi Li, how dare you openly oppose Sky Blue Academy? Lin Cheng's voice was trembling. Yi Li responded with a smile. I don't even care about your Lin family, let alone a mere Sky Blue Academy. He then looked at the students from Sky Blue Academy and added, Do you want to lie on the ground too? With this statement, all the students from Sky Blue Academy shivered. Hearing Wang Jin's continued screams, they immediately made way for Yi Li. If a sixth-tier evolved being like Wang Jin could be defeated with a single attack, there was no way they would dare to challenge Yi Li. Yi Li gave Xiao Yuzhu a glance, and she immediately understood his meaning. Then, Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu headed towards Corpse City. When Yi Li and Xiao Yuzhu arrived at Corpse City, he found that Corpse City was indeed Corpse City. There were really many zombies. Yi Li scanned with the heavenly spirit eyes and found many zombies. He released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space. Go and attract the zombies. Yi Li intended to upgrade the 18-clawed zombies to a higher level. This time, Xiao He followed by Wawa with great enthusiasm, and it seemed like they had established a good relationship in the system space. Xiao Yuzhu had already seen this scene. Although she was a little shocked, she wasn't as shocked as just now. After the Apocalypse Legion attracted many zombies, Yi Li began synthesizing them. From noon to evening, Yi Li successfully upgraded all 18-clawed zombies to the 4th tier. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure chest. At this moment, the system's voice resounded in Yi Li's mind. Without hesitation, Yi Li opened the super treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a zombie-exclusive skill, Corpse Ghost Array. Corpse Ghost Array. Several or even a dozen zombies can form a Corpse Ghost Array. Once formed, The corpse ghost array's power is increased by more than tenfold, and it exudes a terrifying murderous aura capable of killing enemies within 100 miles. Yili smiled, as this skill seemed to be specifically designed for his 18-clawed zombies. Without delay, Yili integrated the corpse ghost array into the 18-clawed zombies. By now, it was getting late, and Yili felt a touch of exhaustion. He thought it would be best to find a place to rest and tackle things tomorrow. He picked a seemingly clean room and entered it with Xiao Yuzhu, and the two of them lay down to rest. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.